The newest Tales from the Pizzaplex book, The Barbados Conclusion, has some really interesting lore hints and reveals. Most notably, the story GGY revealed that Gregory is actually patient 46. In my last video, I discussed what I think the most likely option is for the circumstances of Gregory being patient 46, so go check out that video if you haven't already. But I feel like because of the huge reveal in GGY that a lot of people are overlooking the second story in the book, the Storyteller. The Storyteller has connections throughout the epilogues, future stories, past stories, and the games as well, and I think it deserves a theory all on its own. So in this video, we're going to be discussing a couple theories that I have about the Storyteller. One of these theories may be a little bit controversial, but I think it makes sense. So guys, strap in as we get started on the Storyteller. The Storyteller follows a 64-year-old man named Edwin who was working for Fazbear Entertainment due to his failed engineering company being bought out by them. Due to the Fazbear Entertainment company now losing money from the Pizzaplex, Mr. Burrows, the head chairman and head of Fazbear Entertainment, decides that they need to cut down on employees, and he decides to cut down on the creative development team, the people who created stories for the Pizzaplex fans who like the urban legends of Fazbear Entertainment. Mr. Burrows decides that it would be easier to make an AI that would automatically generate stories, almost like ChatGPT, but Edwin was completely against this idea. He believed that the creativity of the company is what made people love it so much, and he believed that automating it would ruin the magic of Freddy's. Edwin is overruled, but he keeps a close eye on the project. The AI that would be making the stories would be named the Storyteller, and he would be a white tiger animatronic that lived in a tree. Edwin began sneaking into the tree every night, and he found that the tiger animatronic was running a program called Mimic 1. The Storyteller's tree had roots that spread throughout the Pizzaplex, and the Mimic 1 program was altering the animatronic's behavior. Edwin gets some cryptic backstory. Mr. Burrows tries to lock him into the tree, expecting him to die because there is no ventilation in the tree, but then somehow gets surprised when he finds Edwin dead inside, and in the process accidentally traps himself in there and cannot get out, leading to his eventual death, unbeknownst to everyone around. Now there's quite a lot to unpack in this story, so let's go over some of the smaller stuff first. First of all, a lot of people have been saying that this story tells us who the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment is, but this is not true. A CEO and a board chairman are not the same thing. In some ways, a board chairman is more powerful than a CEO, but a CEO is the face of the company, basically the one who overlooks everything, and the board and the chairman of the board overlook what the CEO and the company as a whole is doing. The board does actually have the power to fire the CEO if they feel it necessary, but the chairman of the board is not the CEO itself. Now let's move on to one of the bigger mysteries from the Storyteller, Edwin's past and the Mimic virus. The Storyteller runs a program called Mimic 1. The Mimic is the endoskeleton in the Tales from the Pizzaplex epilogues, the epilogues with the endoskeleton that is implied to contain the spirit of William Afton, and be the endoskeleton that would eventually be used for Burntrap. In the FNaF character encyclopedia, it is stated that Burntrap is not his canon name, meaning his canon name is most likely the Mimic. This could potentially in turn make Glitchtrap's canon name the Mimic as well. We know the Glamrock animatronics to be possessed by Glitchtrap, and this story shows us that the Storyteller's wires connecting throughout the Pizzaplex is what alters the animatronic's behavior. This tells us that the Mimic 1 program is the Glitchtrap virus. The Storyteller tells us the story about how the Glitchtrap virus was spread throughout the Pizzaplex and the Glamrock animatronics. Cleitherphobia confirms that the Glitchtrap virus existed before the Pizzaplex actually opened, but the animatronics within were not infected until the Storyteller. That means that Haps was not malicious. He really was trying to help and was only hurting Jason Aiden because of his claws and completely unintentionally. Lally was either infected by the emotions of Cade or the spirit of the kid Daniel who died at the Pizzaplex, not infected by Glitchtrap, and also not by someone like Cassidy, as Cassidy's spirit was tied to Afton's, which we know from Curse of Dreadbear and Princess Quest. The World Celebrates You AR booth was not infected by Glitchtrap either, it was simply unfinished and killed Maya. None of these things were possessed by Glitchtrap because Glitchtrap was not yet in the Pizzaplex systems. Because Glitchtrap is in this Pizzaplex, that means that the Pizzaplex in this story is the same Pizzaplex from Security Breach. However, in Security Breach, we do not see the Storyteller's tree. This confirms for us that the attractions in the Pizzaplex do in fact change. That tells us that the Pizzaplex in stories like Haps, Under Construction, Cleitherphobia, and Pressure is the same Pizzaplex as the one in the games as well, because the attractions simply changed. This opens up the possibility of us being able to see some of these locations in the Ruin DLC, since if the Pizzaplex is in Ruin, it makes sense that the entrances to sealed off locations would be revealed. Going back to the Mimic Endo though, in the 4th Tales from the Pizzaplex epilogue, the Endo is stated to either be a Mimic Model 1 or 2. The program being run by the Storyteller is Mimic 1. The Storyteller is also unplugged by Edwin but doesn't turn off. You know what else doesn't turn off? The lights in the pizza place. It's called out in the first epilogue that the lights aren't connected to electricity and no one knows how they're still on. But whenever the mimic walks into a room, the lights in that room shut down. This further connects the storyteller with the mimic. It's especially interesting that Edwin knows about the mimic and he is scared of it. The storyteller and the mimic seems to be the thing that Edwin regrets most regarding his past. So what happened? Well, the storyteller is a white tiger, just like what we see on the cover of Tales from the Pizzaplex Book 7, Tiger Rock. One of the stories in Tales Book 6, Nexi, is also titled The Mimic, and Edwin is among the most used words in that book. So it stands to reason that we will be learning more about the mimic and Edwin soon enough. But with the information we do have, we can still make theories and try to figure out what's going on with the mimic. And given the fact that Edwin is so scared of it, and since he is an engineer, and his company was bought out by Fazbear Entertainment, it's possible that the mimic was really made by him. With Burntrap having a slightly altered Glamrock endo and the mimic just being really out of place with the rest of the Pizzaplex gang, it's almost like he was made by someone else, and it makes sense given the context of the storyteller that he was made by Edwin. We know the mimic was originally going to be an animatronic that was going to perform at the Pizzaplex, given that in the first epilogue, when they first find the mimic, someone says that they're going to be needing a new guitarist. But there's one other unsolved mystery regarding Edwin's past: his son. Edwin had a wife who had died giving birth to a baby boy. Edwin had to raise his son by himself, and he'd loved him so much. It's left vague in the story, but apparently something happened to his son that we don't know about. But given the context of his trauma in the story, is it possible that his son was killed? And is it possible that it was by the mimic? What if Edwin's son was one of the teenagers from the Tales from the Pizzaplex epilogues? The mimic blueprints and manual were inside the FNaF 6 building, indicating it was created before the FNaF 6 events. This tells us that since Edwin's company is bought out by Fazbear Entertainment 30 years ago, it was probably bought before FNaF 6 as well. That would also mean that while no Freddy's locations were open during that time, Fazbear Entertainment was still active in the period between Sister Location and FNaF 6. It's even possible that one of the suppliers in FNaF 6, like possibly Smiles and Servos Incorporated, was actually Edwin's company, though that's questionable and maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it's just something I thought was worth mentioning. But if one of the teenagers was Edwin's son, then you would think that he'd know about the mimic and not just be completely clueless, right? Well, no, because there's one male teenager who died before interacting with the mimic except at death: Nick. What if Edwin's son is Nick? Very possible. Another option could just be that the teenagers were either not born yet or too young to have known about the mimic, and Edwin never talked about it and his kid could have been one of the teenagers. Edwin, being on the shorter side at about 5'4", could have passed those genetics down to Jace, who's only 5'6". His son could also have been one of the construction workers that was killed in the first epilogue. It could have even been Gil, the guy who activated the mimic, as he wanted to be a part of the tech team, making it possible that he was inspired by his dad, who was also a part of Fazbear Entertainment. It makes sense. There's multiple options as to who Edwin's son could be, but I think it's most likely that he is someone who was killed by the mimic, whether in the epilogues we have, the ones coming in the future, or even from an upcoming story like the Mimic story. Only time will tell. But the last thing to talk about is the Fazbear Entertainment stories themselves. We learn in this story that Fazbear Entertainment creates stories for the people that love the supposed urban legends about the old Freddy's locations. These stories would be translated into games for AR, VR, and arcades. This is very interesting to note because on the arcades in Security Breach, we have so many different random ideas like Fredbear's Nom Nom Bits and the Bounce Pot game and stuff like that. But what else do we see? Games with Fazbear Frights characters like Fetch, the Plush Trap Chaser, Ralpho, Ella. What if the stories that Fazbear Entertainment created were the Fazbear Frights stories? Maybe not all of them, and it wouldn't necessarily mean the Fazbear Frights stories can't be real events in the games, but it would explain why they appear on the arcades. Other stories made by Fazbear Entertainment could have also been made into some of the game modes from FNaF VR, although those could have also possibly been real events, but they could have also been some of the game templates from the Urban Legends Role Players Auditorium. These are also stories that would be present at the Pizzaplex. You could even call them Tales from the Pizzaplex. But while we don't know for sure what these Tales from the Pizzaplex are, we can certainly take a few guesses. But anyways guys, that's all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and let me know in the comments what you think about this theory. Who do you think that Edwin's son is, and what do you think happened? What do you think the in-universe Tales from the Pizzaplex are? Let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys!